For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never, ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All you sow, you reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain and storm. Facts are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Welcome to the most monitored talk show in the world. This is NewsSpin right here on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on YouTube and our NewsSpin Facebook page. In a moment, your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Kimani is off this afternoon because we have a special guest in studio, and that special guest is former St. Lucia Prime Minister. He is the current leader of the parliamentary opposition and the MP for Micoud South, and that is Mr. Alan Shastney. Welcome to the program, sir.
Great to be here, but I'm not so sure I like the introduction because I know there's a lot of Kimani fans that are out there, and are probably disappointed to see that I'm the one replacing her. So I just want to say I apologize to those great fans. She's a great lady, and I'm sorry that she's not here with us.
I'm sure that our audience would appreciate the fact that you did apologize, because you can't replace Kimani on NewsSpin alone.
No, I can't replace her.
All right. What necessitates your presence here this afternoon is a statement that was made in the island's parliament yesterday during a special sitting of the House of Assembly by Dr. Kenny Anthony. So we will be hearing from Dr. Kenny Anthony, and we'll be getting a response from you. That's with regard to funds and those funds ending up in a particular account in Panama, and those funds going to OECC.
In 2014, I went to Taiwan. When I negotiated with them, with the Export-Import Bank, Mr. Speaker, and proceeded to ask for the first drawdown on the loan to begin to finance the hospital, Mr. Speaker, I requested that the money be routed to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for onward transmission to the consolidated fund here in St. Lucia. Because you see, Mr. Speaker, You have to handle loan funds with integrity. Yeah. Don't let your hands get on it. Don't dirty it. Don't touch it. We requested, when I served as Minister of Finance, that the money goes to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the account number 0210836695, name of bank, Federal Reserve Bank of New York, New York, New York, etc., for onward transmission to the government of St. Lucia. And I want to tell you, at its account at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, that's where it was rooted. In comes the leader of the opposition as Minister it becomes Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. In comes the leader of the opposition as Minister it becomes Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. In comes. You know what he does, Mr. Speaker? You know what he does, Mr. Speaker? And I'm talking about the management of loan proceeds. And I'm warning this government, don't follow that example. Do you know they promptly proceed to draw down the balance of the loan which I had negotiated with the Taiwanese to complete the hospital? But you know what they do? They diverted the money, the balance of the money, to the overseas engineering and construction company, this same OCC. In other words, the money is no longer going directly to the central bank and onto the consolidated fund here. It is going directly to the bank account of the OCC. So that we are not having any control over funds that are supposed to be in the consolidated fund.
Former St. Lucia Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony speaking in Parliament yesterday. Mr. Alan Shastney, what really transpired there?
So, first of all, when we came into government and we entered into negotiations with the Taiwanese, and we expanded the program in which the Taiwanese were going to lend us money. So, we already had, Kenny had negotiated a $20 million US loan, of which 10 million had already been drawn down. There was 10 million remaining.
That loan was for what?
For St. Jude's.
Okay.
We then negotiated an additional $30 million or $20 million for the completion of St. Jude's. We also negotiated $110 million US for the HIA airport. And we also negotiated $43 million for road developments in St. Lucia. OECC, or the government of Taiwan, has 50% shares in OECC. And so the Exim Bank, the bank, the development bank arm of the Taiwanese government, and the OECC, the construction company, actually act exactly the same way as the Caribbean Development Bank. Mm-hmm. Exim Bank assesses the viability of the loan and does all the contract negotiations, and then OECC becomes the executing agency. And I have to say to you, Tim, in the selection of OECC, I was very, very, very heartened. And if you go back and listen to my speeches at the time, that given the experience of OECC, not only in St. Vincent, but in Guatemala, in Honduras, in Haiti, in Latin America, and in other parts of the world, to bring that kind of expertise to our shores, I was very, very excited by that. I was also happy because it became a second pair of eyes and ears. So that means that the execution and the spending of the monies, they also had to certify the works. So you would have the ministry that was responsible here, whether it's infrastructure or economic development or health, certifying that the works were completed. And then you would have OECC certifying that the works were completed. And then you had the Exim Bank paying the money. So by OECC managing all of those particular projects, nothing extraordinary was done. So monies were transferred to OECC. OECC was established in 1998. Their headquarters is in Panama. CDB's headquarters are in Barbados. So when monies from donor agencies are brought to be expended in St. Lucia, let's take the Millennium Highway, that's currently going on, right? Monies were sent in by the British to CDB. CDB now is paying Cow Williams directly. Money is not going into the consolidated fund. The reason why, and I think that that's what's causing the comparison, is where Kenny is speaking about the first drawdown of the loan came through the Eastern Caribbean Bank and into the consolidated fund here, was because the executing agency at the time for the project was the PMU, the project management unit in the Ministry of Finance. So they were the ones paying the monies.
But wouldn't it have been the proper thing to do to have the money go through the consolidated fund?
I think
for checks and balances?
There is no less checks and balances. The issue has been a lot of persons, organizations who want to make contributions into St. Lucia. When it goes into the consolidated account, it becomes part of the daily cash flow. And therefore, there's many examples where projects have been delayed because monies were already put in, but the government has spent the money on something else and the government's cash flow is low at the time. So I want to say that there is zero difference in the checks and balances. All of the entities in St. Lucia that have to certify the works that were done and how much it was paid for was done. OECC did the same thing. The Exim Bank did the same thing. And I want to say that the government of Taiwan regularly audits OECC. So this suggestion that somehow by putting the money there, that the money becomes flexible, meaning that it is somebody's discretion as to how they want to spend the money. The money is earmarked specifically under the rules of the contract and the contract with the contractor as to what they're going to be spending the money on. And before they spend the money, they have to submit all of their monies. So this is a normal practice. In no ways should anybody be alarmed or concerned that monies are going to go awry. And I think it's shameful that a former prime minister, and then when I heard the prime minister today on a show, and what he said, where he said, well, he's only making the comparison to be how the money was originally drawn down, which I've explained, because PMU was the executing agency, and how it is being done now. But the questions that are coming up, he has not done any research. You would have thought that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, in putting out something in which people would easily want to interpret it in a wrong way, that you would be careful. And more importantly, when the partner that we're speaking of is a government, it's the government of Taiwan. This is their entity. As I said to you, they're 50% shareholders, right? And that there's a process in place to help expedite the development of and the execution of the projects. So let's look at an example. The OECC right now is doing work in St. Lucia at HI Airport, the tower. Mm-hmm. Okay, where are the monies being sent to? This government is in office. Where is the money being sent to? And who's paying the money?
So where exactly is the money?
Going to Panama, but it's not really Panama. It's just any address. It's a Panamanian address for their headquarters. So that's where their bank accounts are. That's where the money goes. And then they now transmit that money to St. Lucia based on the approved certificates of the government of St. Lucia and also their contractors.
It's also being suggested as a result of this method that was utilized to conduct the transaction that somebody got some kind of commission.
Again, I have not heard that specifically. I don't know how anybody would want to prove anything like that. I think it's an irresponsible statement to make, and it makes certain allegations against OECC. So what are you saying? That the government of Taiwan sent money to OECC, and that OECC then paid money to somebody? Taiwan has very, very strict corruption laws. They cannot give monies to political parties. They cannot. It's completely illegal. And this is a government entity that they're making these allegations. This is a damning statement. And particularly coming from a former Minister of Finance and not being denied, I think, in any way by the Prime Minister today, is irresponsible. And again, I think it's putting into disrepute the name of St. Lucia and certainly the names of OECC and Taiwan. And I stand by it that my government, and I know of nobody who ever received a commission. I'm not aware of any contract that caused a commission to be paid to anyone for anything other than a service that was being provided. And so I don't want in any way for the listeners to believe I'm trying to simplify the process or to understate what has transpired, but these are false allegations, and hopefully later in the show, we can speak to why we think that they're making these kinds of allegations. But I certainly want to deal with this issue up front. I don't want to have any he say, that say, or tit for tat. I'm here to accurately respond to these very damning allegations that have been made, that clearly any normal thinking person would construe that there was something wrong. But I want to say there was nothing done wrong.
Are those allegations, or it is a case where something is being dangled, and then people can form their own opinions, and then people can speculate on it?
Well, I can see that the strategy of Richard Frederick, which I call the master of half-truths. So let's look at remember the example where he said that we moved the roundabout at Rodney Bay to the new location so that a land could be acquired from my father. And he left it there. Now everybody's going to think, what? The Prime Minister is helping out his family and this and that. Now when you finish the story, is that the Ministry of Infrastructure asked that the roundabout be moved from where it was going to go, which was by MJI, to move to where the what do you call it, the pool is at La Traite Road, and that the amount of land that was acquired in total was 24,000 square feet, and of that 24,000 square feet, 400 square feet came from my father, 400, and that my father gave the 400 square feet for free. Now, how you're going to interpret what took place will be very differently when you have the whole story. So again now, when you put out a half-truth, that monies originally came in and went into the consolidated fund, and that now those same new monies are going through Panama, and you don't provide the full explanation, is that the monies went into the consolidated fund because the executing agency at the time was the government of St. Lucia. And that when we now expanded the amount of monies we were going to borrow from the Taiwanese, and we brought in a new entity called OECC, proven track record, half owned by the government of Taiwan, that they now became the executing agency.
What are the implications of this in terms of relations between St. Lucia and Taiwan? Because somewhere Taiwan is caught in this particular political drama.
I only hope that the government was mindful of that when they first made the statements. Now, that's not to say that if something was wrong, that the government should not bring it up. They have every right to do that, and I certainly would never take any offense to that. But in something that is so easily researched as to why it was being done the way it was being done, and whether in fact that's a common practice, whether we were setting precedent, we were not. Many projects in St. Lucia, many. In fact, I would dare to say that the Saudi Arabian loan, I'm not so sure it's going to go through the consolidated fund. I don't know. Already we've seen that it's not going out to tender, because in the House today, it was revealed that a local contractor has already been identified. Now, you and I can speculate as to who we think that local contractor is. Was it put out to tender? Now, again, I don't want to get into comparisons, but the fact is that you're making some very serious allegations that are easily refutable. And the question becomes, why? You have to know that this is going to damage the reputation of anybody you're making these allegations towards. And I just think I sit and I'm baffled as to what this government's intention is.
Earlier on, you said that later on you hope to get an opportunity to at least hazard a guess as to why this is being played out? What was the reason, you think? You think there's just too much politics in everything that happens in this country? Because I think so.
Look, I think there is always politics in everything. And you choose to use the politics when you want to change the narrative. So if you're not happy with what the discussion currently is, then you find a way to change the narrative. So, it's sports persons out there will know the term. Sometimes the best defense is an offense. So all of a sudden coming out and making these allegations, the issues of the cost of living, the issues of crime, the issues of the state of healthcare in our country, the issues with what's going on with the roads, the issues with allegations of corruption onto this government. These are not the things that this government wants to speak about. The 2.5% implementation was an ill thought of or an ill-advised decision, and now that they're implementing it, people are revolting because businesses are going to close. The price of living for people is going up. We've seen that what happens with Kentucky Fried Chicken. We've seen what happens with Digicel, which is going to be repeated over and over again. The businesses are not going to absorb this 2.5%. So you already have inflation. So this is what this government is running away from. It does not want to deal with it. And then when you come now to the situation of St. Jude's, and I'm going to try to put it as simply as I possibly can, there are 3 significant documents in the timeline of St. Jude's. The Shanty King report, which was a closing report, which gives you a history of what happened between 2009 and 2016. Okay? You then have the FDL report, which was $1 million was paid for this report from a company that does work throughout the region and is one of the major contractors or engineering firms for CDB. And they went and brought a panel of almost 12 experts in their particular fields to deal with the healthcare services. And then now you have the report that was produced in 2021 by a voluntary group of people, some of them who had already made public pronouncements here in St. Lucia as to what they thought that should have been happened. So I don't want to question people's integrity, but I would say to you that it's not in my mind. I don't think in anybody else's mind you can say it was a fully independent report. Those are the 3 things that you're guided by, Tim.
In just a moment, we'll give you an opportunity to explore this. But first, this exchange which occurred this morning on the Radio 100 program, What Makes You Mad, featuring Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre and addressing the OECC issue.
All I'll do today is state the facts. Today, I will just state the facts. When government secures loan funding or any funding, it goes 2 ways. It goes to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, goes to our call account there, and it's transferred on demand to the Consolidated Fund or to the Bank of St. Lucia. In 2014, the Taiwanese we went to Caribbean Export-Import Bank and we borrowed some money. Some money came from the Caribbean Export-Import Bank to our account in the ECCB for on-road transmission to the government of St. Lucia. That's in 2014. I can read the agreement, so you know. In 2020, that money went direct to a company that was registered in Panama.
So it didn't go through the Caribbean Development Bank?
No. These are the facts.
How irregular is that?
Improper. Now, as to the motives, I don't know.
Why is that being raised only now?
Because right now, we've got in the discussion of funding for St. Jude's.
But something as irregular as that, Mr. Prime Minister, if that comes to mind, shouldn't that be brought into the public space?
It's important in the public space. But be careful what I say. I have to be careful what I say.
But have you requested an explanation from those involved in this?
I'd rather hold my peace for that and not for now. Because, you know, you don't want to just say things about people. All you can say is what you saw. And let the speculation.
You mean there may be, but you see, if we don't get to the bottom of it, there may be an innocent explanation for it.
And exactly.
Yes.
So we're looking for it. And ask officials of Ministry of Finance about it. They'll have to come and see. But that's a fact. That's what the document says. It's a fact. The explanation, you might want, but that's what the document says. 2014, it went to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and then St. Lucia. 2020 went direct to an account. Fact. Why? I'm not speculating. Fact, a commission was paid in the last transaction.
But isn't that normal, is it?
It wasn't paid in the first.
And the commission was paid to whom?
That's what we have to, that's what is being found out.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierce speaking on the Radio 100 program earlier today. What makes you mad? And being interviewed there by Stanley Lucian. What did you deduce from what the Prime Minister said there?
That he's not fit to be Prime Minister of this country. He's not. For a person in his position to want to cause speculation in the first place, and then to fuel that speculation by not being truthful and transparent to the people of St. Lucia, is devious, it's deceitful, it's dishonest, and it's careless. He said that this is not a usual thing. So here we are today. The CDB is paying Carl Williams for the Millennium Highway directly. That under his administration, the money has continued to go to OECC, and OECC is executing the project at HIA. The road projects that were done, the money was done through OECC, and the monies were transferred to OECC's headquarters, and OECC paid for the road projects. I can give you so many examples of where this in practice. Now, I think that Guy was right, because OECC's headquarters is in Panama. And let's be truthful. Let's see how we're fueling the speculation, right? That Panama is known as a place where people put money to launder money. Okay, it's an offshore center, just like Cayman or BVI. Whenever you see those places, we've been taught throughout the world to raise a red flag. Yeah? Don't you think that he ought to have done his investigation before he put out that information? And if he was going to put out information, that he ought to have made sure that it was accurate, even if you weren't going to provide everything? So why are you lying? And I'm sorry. I keep coming back to this, that people elect governments, and one of the hallmarks of any government is trust. And this government continuously does things which lack trust. So, I mean, and again, I don't want to get into the tit for tat, but look at the Bonanza land. So you have a situation where a valuation was done in 2013 for $6.7 million. There was a mutation, and by everybody's own understanding, parcel 11 and parcel 50 are one and the same. They're the same size, the same locations. It was redone in 2021 at $3.5 million for the same 1.1 hectare acres, right? So you're telling me that between 2013 and 2021, the land devalued? It was not put out to tender. The person that was sold the land to has zero track record in the development works, or has the capacity to financially do it. Now, the same minister that was involved in 2008, when he was the Minister of Local Government and was responsible for the Castries City Council, because he was also the district rep for that area, caused a business person where SNS is, where the old Clark Theater is, right? The little piece of land in front, 1,800 square feet, caused him, that company, to buy the piece of land for $2 million in 2008. So it's not to say he doesn't know what the value of land in Castries was. So you don't believe that people are speculating? What have you done to resolve the issue? So I'm just saying to you, Tim, that those statements that the Prime Minister made, in any other democratic country in the world, he would have to resign. They are that egregious. They are that irresponsible. And more importantly, when it includes a friendly country to St. Lucia that has done so much to help the lives of people of this country. When you think of from the time Taiwan came in to where we are today, the amount of feeder roads, sidewalks, drains, sporting facilities, scholarships. How many students are in Taiwan today? That is the level of gratitude that this government is showing to those persons. Forget about how I feel. Think of all the persons who have benefited to see that their prime minister is throwing the Taiwanese government under the bus. I said to you, if in fact anything that was done was wrong, by all means. But the practice of development agencies paying contractors directly and not putting the money in the consolidated fund has been a practice in place in St. Lucia and throughout the entire Caribbean for a long time. So when you go in and you dig deep and you understand who OECC is owned in part by the government of Taiwan. They were the executing agencies, not only for St. Jude's, but also for HIA and for the road developments. When you now start understanding all of that, and that you now have a prime minister who said he has deliberately put this information out, in his own words, to cause speculation? Speculation? Come on.
What has happened, what eventually happened to that money, which went into the account of the OECC?
It went to pay contractors.
Who involved in the construction of the new St. Jude or the old St. Jude?
Whatever project was being executed and approved under the road works, that is where the money went. So what would happen? Let's follow it. We would negotiate a contract for the loan. You would then have a contract with the contractor, right, as to what the execution of the work program is going to do. The contractor then is free to subcontract to other people if he wants to. And he's making sure that those subcontractors ultimately produce what they're supposed to do. So remember, we keep on thinking of the new St. Jude's only as the physical construction. There was electrical contractors, there was plumbing contractors, okay? There were consultants. All those things go into building the new hospital. All those persons would have provided their certificate of works. It would have been authenticated and verified by the local ministry. And then OECC would now provide a further investigation and confirmation of the works that were done. And once you have the two certificates, those then are sent off to the Exim Bank. And the Exim Bank then pays the contractor through OECC, sends the money to OECC for them to pay to the contractor. That is the normal practice. So again, that's why I want to say, if people want to this thing of causing people to want to speculate that all of a sudden, because the money is not physically in St. Lucia and is going to that contractor, that there's not going to be a level of accountability. Far from it. The money is 100%, 1,000% accounted for, not by one entity in St. Lucia, but by OECC as well. So it's an irresponsible statement that can have very far-reaching consequences to all of us. And the big part is in the last 24 or 48 hours to cause people to go, all this money is gone. And to worry about it, because I've had people who call me and are very concerned, and rightfully so. And that's why I'm here today. And I don't want to do this, the general practice of deflecting. Okay, and getting into a different subject. I want to deal with this issue and to show that there's no way possible that what the Prime Minister and also the former Minister of Finance are trying to suggest is possible. And even to suggest for a moment that this is an abnormal practice. You heard him. It's improper, is what he said. So what? What's going on at Millennium Highway with CDB is improper? What's going on at HIA is improper? What has gone on for years in St. Lucia is improper? And he has been in government for how long?
Still to come, more of our discussion and, of course, your calls as we continue to watch NewsSpin, the most monitored talk show in the world. Well, applications and interview taking place today. Get hired on the spot, and that event is taking place at the Castries City Council Town Hall. It commenced at 9 o'clock this morning. It ends at 3 this afternoon. And it is being undertaken by Alternative Security Services. Just walk with your valid ID card, and you must be 20 to 50 years old, of sound mind and body, and must be able to read and write. This is NewsSpin.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
There is only one option when they arrive. Our services will make the dead look alive. With Bouteille and Beaufort accessibility. Remember, we have the only private cemetery. No one can match our prices from coffins to corsage. Personalized service you get when Lazarus takes charge. Quality service, no package to make your wallet bleed. Lazarus is your true friend in your time of need.
Introducing the new LuSelect Virtual Service Desk, where one click is your access to every service. From my account to streetlight reports, requests for payment arrangements to settle arrears, change of name and address. Easy online forms give you access from anywhere and at any time. Every service you need at your fingertips. Go to our website, luselect.com, and click on the Virtual Service Desk widget. LuSelect's Virtual Service Desk. Every solution at your fingertips.
KFC is taking you on a finger-licking journey down memory lane with our delicious throwback special. A mouth-watering leg and thigh combo with regular fries and a 16-ounce soda for only $15. That remind me of the good old days, boy. Available every Thursday. But wait, the thrill doesn't stop there. Tune in on Thursdays to win vouchers and stages tickets. This limited offers available in stores only. KFC, finger-licking good.
So fast pay, a new and easy way to pay. So fast pay, so fast pay.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay.
So fast pay, 2 minutes and you're on your way. So fast pay, so fast pay.
Flow is keeping you connected.
Nightmares is your dependable neighborhood pharmacy. You'll notice that upon entry, you are greeted by caring professional staff, attentive to your every need. Your prescriptions are always treated with a high degree of confidentiality, and we pride ourselves on providing speedy, efficient service. We carry a wide array commonly requested over-the-counter products, and our prices are very competitive. We offer blood pressure testing, blood sugar and cholesterol testing, We're open to fill your prescriptions Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come, visit Sadu's gas station on the Miku Highway or call us at 572-6840 or WhatsApp 461-6840 for more information. Night Meds Pharmacy. We are your community med store.
Automotive art is a place to start.
Automotive Art is now bigger and better with bargains galore. Automotive Art has expanded. With new exciting products and increased shopping comfort, we welcome you to visit. Celebrate with us and take advantage of our specials. New tires starting at $129, 25% off all tools and accessories, up to 75% off rims, BOGO specials, car care bundles, and other bargains galore. Automotive Art, bigger and better.
Get ready for the second annual Zouk a Blanc, presented to you by Project Chocolat, Saturday 30th September from 7 p.m. featuring St. Lucia's #1 band, DYP. The always exciting Ezra, the Fun Machine, and our finest DJ, Hollywood HP, and DJ Shocking. Savor an evening of elegance, souk, and old school rhythms in the heart of Soufrière at Project Chocolat. Secure your tickets for just $80. Grab yours at any sell outlets island-wide or at Mambo's Bar in Soufrière. Tickets are also available online. Zouk a Blanc, a touch of white, where island vibes and cuisine meets pure sophistication.
Admission $100 at the door.
All I'll do today is state the facts. Today, I will just state the facts. When government secures loan funding or any funding, it goes two ways. Goes to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, goes to our call account there, and is transferred on demand to the Consolidated Fund or to the Bank of St. Lucia. In 2014, the Taiwanese we went to Caribbean Export Income Bank and we borrowed some money. The money came from the Caribbean Export Income Bank to our account in the ECCB for on-road transmission to the government of St. Lucia. That's in 2014. I can read the agreement so you know. In 2020, that money went direct to a company that was registered in bank.
So it didn't go through the Caribbean Development Bank?
No. So the Eastern Caribbean. These are the facts.
How irregular is that?
Improper. Now, as to the motives, I don't know.
Why is that being raised only now?
Because right now, we've got in the discussion of funding for St. Jude's.
But something as irregular as that, Mr. Prime Minister, if that comes to mind, shouldn't that be brought into the public space?
It's important in the public space. But be careful what I say. I have to be careful what I say.
But have you requested an explanation from those involved in this?
I'd rather hold my peace for that and not for now. Because, you know, you don't want to just say things about people. All you can say is what you saw. And let the speculation.
You mean there may be, but you see, if we don't get to the bottom of it, there may be an innocent explanation for it.
And exactly.
Yes.
So, we're looking for it for it. And that's officials the Ministry of Finance about it. You'll have to come and see. But that's a fact. That's what the document says. It's a fact. The explanation, you might know, but that's what the document says. 2014, it went to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and then St. Lucia. 2020 went direct to an account. Fact. Why? I'm not speculating. Fact, a commission was paid in the last transaction.
But isn't that normal, is it?
It wasn't paid in the first.
And the commission was paid to do.
That's what we have to. That's what is being found out.
Prime Minister Philip JPN speaking earlier today on the Radio 100 program, What Makes You Mad? We open the lines right now to take your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. Why all the back and forth on St. Jude's, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, when 14 years after we are yet to complete that much needed project?
Well, there has to be somebody that everybody can blame this on because it's a catastrophe, and I think that yesterday in the House, or today in the House, but also on Tuesday in the House, the government coming to the House to borrow $200 million now to complete St. Jude's vindicates that the FDL report that was done was 100% correct. The FDL report basically said that there are significant deficiencies, and even without those deficiencies, it would take $100 million to complete the hospital. So the dilemma you have is, okay, do you continue with the development of the building because you have no idea how much the deficiencies were going to cost to solve, and you have no idea how long it was going to take, and that once then you do those things, then it was going to be at least another $100 million. So all of a sudden you see it's now $200 million.
Hold on, point, sir. We have a call. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Hi, Tim.
Yes, good afternoon to you, caller.
I just want to add my voice to the discussion in terms of these cash flows from loans from funding agencies to either the contractor or the consolidated fund or whatever. And I want to say one or two things that will allow people to understand the difficulty in funds going directly to the consolidated fund. And we'll take it on the level of say, income tax payments. Let's assume I owe $60,000 in taxes. And I have decided, rather than go and write a check or whatever, I am going to make a direct transfer from my account to the account at the Bank of St. Lucia, the government account at the Bank of St. Lucia. The moment you say that to the Inland Revenue Department, they come back in very short time saying, don't do that. Because if the money goes inside there, they don't know when they will get it, if they will get it, or if it will be identified. So they ask you basically to give the money directly to the Inland Revenue Department, and they will deal with getting the money into the consolidated fund. And the reason for so doing is that once the money goes in there, it gets lost. And it's very difficult to track down payments. And the other thing you have to understand is the consolidated fund, I am not aware that it gets reconciled on a regular basis. And what I say by reconciled, in a typically well-run business, periodically every month, every quarter, every half year, you will do a reconciliation that you will know if there is $5 million in the account, you know precisely what is the purpose of that $5 million, to whom it is targeted. I'm not aware that happens in the consolidated fund. So what you could end up having when money goes in there is that somebody out there, some contractor, is not going to get paid simply because the money has gone elsewhere. Now, that's one explanation. Now, the mere fact that money goes into the central bank and that money is transferred from the central bank to a bank in Panama. Another thing people must understand, cash flows do not just happen on your instructions without anybody asking questions. And that is something I've experienced in terms of transferring money from one jurisdiction to another. Invariably, the bank, like let's say I want to send money from Dominica or Antigua to an account in St. Lucia, the bank in question that you're given the instruction to transfer the money will want to know why is that money being transferred, and not only why, but they want to see documentation to support what you're saying. So a bank like the central bank, which hopefully is on the forefront of anti-money laundering activities, would hardly transfer large sums of money from their accounts to a jurisdiction like Panama, especially involving government funds. They would hardly transfer that money to Panama without knowing exactly why that money is being transferred, and they would want to see the documentation. They may even have to see the original contract to see the justification for transferring that money. for the Prime Minister to sit back in his chair and rock his chair and says, I'm only stating the facts. The facts are the facts, but there must be a reason why it is being done. And in his position, it is incumbent upon him to ask what was the background to those monies being transferred. Otherwise, it's just plain mischievous, and this is not the sort of behavior one expects from somebody at that level.
Can I ask your caller a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember, in the case of NIC, when NIC is doing projects with NIPRO, does the money go into the consolidated fund? Or does NIPRO and NIC pay the money directly to the contractors?
I am not aware of that side of things. This one is unusual to me. I don't think that would go into the consolidated fund. You bypass the consolidated fund as much as possible, and all that happens in the end is that the bookkeeping records what has happened. For example, if the money goes from the central bank to the bank in Panama, the record shows that it goes towards the contract that was in question. It is just disingenuous to say in this day and age, when there is so much conversation about money laundering, anti-money laundering, and talking about a jurisdiction like Panama, that a reputable institution like the ECCB would transfer money to that jurisdiction without being fully satisfied that this money is going for a legitimate purpose. For a prime minister to state otherwise, or even to leave the door open for speculation, is damaging not only to St. Lucia, but it's also damaging to the ECCB, because we are throwing mud on the procedures of ECCB.
So I want to just make it clear that I think in this instance, the monies from Taiwan went directly to OECC in Panama. So I hope you're not confusing the OECC with the ECCB. So in this particular case, the monies would have been transferred to OECCC, and then OECC, based on the approval of the certificates, would then have transferred the monies to the contractor here, which I'm pretty sure that money would have had to go through the ECCB before it came to St. Lucia to the contractors.
But that's the point. If money is flowing through the ECCB, ECCB would not want to be caught up in a situation where they're being used as an activity that could facilitate money laundering or other irregular activity. That's the point I'm making. It cannot be.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're throwing mud all over the ECCB by so doing. And one has to be very careful when you say things like that.
And I want to be very clear that I want to say the point that you made, where a prime minister who has access to all of the information and who is admitting that he either deliberately doesn't want to say all the information or has deliberately not gone and researched it himself, to put out a half statement that would cause speculation to this extent is grossly inappropriate, and it's irresponsible, and he should be held accountable for it, in my mind.
Absolutely, because you must remember that this gentleman, wasn't he chairman of the Monetary Authority just a short while ago?
Correct.
If you're acting at that level, you would do such a thing to sit casually in a radio studio and say that I am only stating the facts. This is irresponsible at the highest order. Absolutely the highest order.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for calling. Just heard there from Mr. Frank Myers, a chartered accountant. 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. Good afternoon. You are on the air.
Tim.
Hi, good afternoon, Derek.
You continue another great show. Let me say first of all, with reference to your guest, that to be fair to the Labour Party, to be fair, or rather to be historically on target, it was the Labour Party in the time of Tom Chu, and if I'm correct, Alan, that was when King was Prime Minister.
Correct.
King. It was the Labour Party in the time of Tom Chu who made quite an issue about Taiwanese funds not being put into the consolidated fund. Am I right?
Correct. In fact, it was being paid out of the Taiwanese embassy office here in St. Lucia.
Okay, good. If I recall, I remember one MP, or at least an MP, an opposition MP, saying that it was dirty money, even to the point of stating that he was going to consider Tom Chu, the ambassador of Taiwan, and what's the term? Unwelcome. The
Persona non grata.
Yeah. He called it blood money, Rick.
And he would do, I'm coming, with blood money, and somebody I think it may have been Musa, I dare say, if I stand to be corrected. But certainly, an MP in the opposition said also equated the money to money paid to horse. It was as bad as that. So I want to make the point that from the time of Stephenson King, the Labour Party has been consistent in not wanting Taiwanese money in particular. I say so because I don't know about other monies, other loans. In wanting the Taiwanese money to be placed in the consolidated fund. And at the time, Stephenson King defended that position, the position of the government, why it was
necessary
put in the consolidated fund, etc., etc. That's one. Now, I noticed that the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, did in fact use the word improper in terms of the OECC putting, using the OCCC, and it was improper. Now, improper is a long way from illegal and unruly and disorderly and all these adjectives. A long, long way from that. So I don't know what he meant to convey about it being improper. But wasn't the OCCC established in 1998?
Yep.
Why was it established? And you keep saying it is half-owned, but you don't say who the owners are.
The owners, it's a private company in Taiwan, along with the Taiwanese government, and it was created when I opened up this morning, this afternoon. I said it's kind of like the Exim Bank and OECC together are like what CDB is. So Exim Bank does the financial analysis and the disbursements of monies, and the OECC is an executing agency to help Taiwan with its international relations and development programs in other countries.
Has anybody, has any other administration done business via the OCC besides your administration?
No, because up until we got the loan from Taiwan, the original loan of Taiwan of $20 million US, most of the monies were grant monies here on ground. So that's what I was saying. So when my administration came in, piggyback on what had happened with St. Jude's, we were able to convince the Taiwanese now to lend us money. And that's the big difference. This is money that has to be paid back. So this is money that the Taiwanese were lending us. $110 million US was for HIA. $43 million US was for the road redevelopment. And $30 million US is for the St. Jude's Hospital.
I got the impression, listening to the to and fro, which I'm so pissed off with, on such a waste of time and everything else. But it seems we have to get into it. I got the impression that somebody was saying that the government, your government, placed money or redirected funds from somewhere into the OCCC. Am I wrong on that?
Yes.
I got the impression that somebody's saying that money was transferred from wherever by your government to the OCCC.
That never happened. So the fact is, once we had signed...
I think... No. I think what the order stated also was about somebody getting a commission of that transaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay for me now. Quickly, I just want to address you directly now, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman called a former magistrate. She's all over your chat room anyway, and I missed her yesterday. Did she actually say that she had applied for the job of special prosecutor?
She said that yesterday. I don't have the evidence to prove it right now, but she made the comment, the revelation yesterday on NewsSpin. And who knows, we might play the clip tomorrow on our program. But Miss Nigel Toussaint.
And was obviously rejected?
Yes, she said that.
Well, whoever did that rejection, I personally want to say thank God. Thank God for that. if you check, I don't know why Kimani is not reading her text.
Because she's not on duty today. Kimani is not on duty today.
Well, it's a pity. Somebody should be reading her text because, I mean, she wouldn't even have to investigate Alan Chastney. She would be locking him up from the day on the first day of the job. She'd be locking him up. The woman is on your chat room calling people slaves and all this kind of, and that's a magistrate. That's a former magistrate who now wants to be a special prosecutor. Whoever is responsible for putting that woman in a place, and she's probably going to respond to me in the usual dirty language, because that's the only language her ilk and some other ministers and parliamentarians use. So I'm waiting for it. I know in English enough, and I can use it well enough not to have to discuss panties and who had sex with who. But I think it is pretty disgusting that a person with a law background should be announcing that they missed a good thing by not hiring me to be the special prosecutor, and at the same time writing obviously prejudiced material on a chat room on a talk show. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Rick. We continue with your calls and your WhatsApp messages in just a bit as you continue to watch NewsSpin on our NewsSpin Facebook page. We are also on YouTube and Power 97.9 FM.
So, you asked a question, Tim, as to why I think these things are being said.
Mm-hmm.
On Tuesday, I think that the FDL report was vindicated, and the government now has a very difficult time to justify to the public of St. Lucia that why would they go and spend $200 million at this point in a building that is 80 years old, Tim. 80 years old. Okay, that was not even designed initially to be a hospital. You have the report from Santa King that shows how difficult it was to complete that old building. And you have the FDL report, which clearly says that you can do it, but it's going to become at a significant cost. Now, how does this government justify that you have a brand new building, purpose-built? Yeah? If you go to Cayman, you'll see that the footprint of this hospital is exactly the same footprint as the hospital in Cayman. That is very near completion. I heard some good questions today from the independent senator, Lee. And he asked a question, why would you, and it's a very relevant question. I know I've heard a lot of people ask the same question. Why would you move in downstairs without upstairs being completed? And is that not going to be problematic for the future work and the people being downstairs? Well, I want to say that a lot of hospitals do that they overbuild and you start growing into the space. Once the building was sealed, which it is, and all the electrical and work goes into the ceiling, this is very light construction. This is going to have zero impact. And the division of upstairs is going to be using drywall, which is, again, very low impact type of construction. And once you now start understanding what you're going to do with upstairs, you can then build it out. The hospital in Trinidad, for years, they had much empty spaces. The Trinidad the hospital in Martinique, same thing. But the goal of my administration was, number one, get the people out of the hellhole called the stadium as fast as humanly possible. And that's why the focus was on trying to get downstairs operationalized. Upstairs, we were hoping to work with Cayman Health City to put an international hospital. That international hospital would benefit the St. Lucians, who are now going to Martinique, who are going to Miami, who are going to other parts of the world. They could now come to Vieux Fort and get those kinds of operations, procedures being done here in St. Lucia, as well as now sharing of the facilities. Now, I want to explain this, Tim. By having a local hospital along with an international hospital, it means that you're going to get better utilization of the X-ray machines, better utilization of the MRI machines, better utilization of the theaters, and that there's a sharing of some facilities locations there. We were also going where we were going to now take the OKEU and the Millennium Heights and make that the singular board. So now the maintenance person at OKEU and the maintenance person at the local hospital, part of it, would be for two hospitals. And you would start sharing, because one of the things I brought up at the presentation yesterday that's very, very, very important, Ms. Toussaint touched on it. it's not about just building the building, but how are you going to operate it? And that's why I made the point. The Labour Party had a naming opening for OKU. Remember that?
Commissioning.
Right? Mm-hmm. You know how long it took from the naming operation to move in? 5 years. The building was finished. But they could not move in because the operating side of it had not been figured out. And that is the problem. Once you now move into this new facility, fully air conditioned, with modern equipment, the operating cost changes significantly. And that is why we wanted to bring an international hospital in there to share in those costs. That is why we wanted to follow the quadrant plan. You remember the quadrant plan from Sir John? The quadrant plan spoke about making St. Jude's not only a local hospital, but a regional and international hospital, and converting the old St. Jude's into a training facility. So imagine if you had either a university for nurses or a university for a medical university, they would have to pay the hospital to share in those services. So now you're bringing revenue streams from different places to make this hospital viable. This is what I am not hearing from this government. This government seems so intent on wanting to try to prove that we made a mistake and we should have finished the building. Well, guess what? We now know chemical and paint back in 2016 or 2017 was not going to finish the hospital. That was not even in the realm of possibilities. And the FDL report and the fact that this government is going to borrow $200 million vindicates that point. And so why are they running away? They're running away because the facts are coming out right before their very eyes. The idea that they went and found Saudi money.
Hold that point. We have a caller. Incidentally, Nigel Toussaint is on WhatsApp. Hello, good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin, you're on the air.
Yes.
Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tim. Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon to Mr. Chasney.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
And
Tim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand you've been making some derogatory statements in the chat room. Racist statement in the chat room.
That is completely false. I do not do those things. If someone has cloned my account and is writing under a name that is my name, then that is them. Rick will have to provide the post, the comments that he is speaking about, because this is not his first time saying that. He has said before that I have cussed him on social media. I do not cuss people. I barely ever even respond to the nastiness that's directed at me. I make my comments on the substance of what is being said. I ask questions. Today I've asked a question of Frank Myers. I have commented on Philip Pierre's video that you showed, and I have kept it only on the issues. So I don't know what the derogatory, certainly no racist. I haven't even seen any comment on race yet this afternoon. So I'm not seeing everything, and I'm certainly not the one posting under my name. And you guys are going to have to figure out who is infiltrating your chat room and is posting under other people's names. I do not cuss people. People who know me know that. And if in any event, even if I were to, it's not something I would do publicly. I certainly wouldn't do it in the chat room. So Rick's going to have to take that back, what he just said. He could be happy that I'm not the special prosecutor. That's him. I don't really care. But to come on there and to paint me in a way that's to make me seem like I'm out here making derogatory comments at people, I think that that's deliberate, that's malicious, and he really ought not do it. And he owes me an apology or provide the comments that he says that I'm making, because I am sick of him putting that out there to all of the world, and he needs to stop it. If Rick doesn't like me, then that's Rick's problem. It's not my problem. If I'm a thorn in Rick's side, that's Rick's problem. That's not my problem. If Rick cannot debate with me and win an argument, that's Rick's problem. That's not my problem. But don't you dare get on radio, national radio, and tell anybody that I'm writing derogatory things or I'm saying derogatory things or I'm directing cuss words at you. because that is not me, and that is simply your attempt to paint me in a negative light for your purposes, Rick, for your purposes. Okay? So you owe me an apology, sir. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. We're due for a break. The broadcast will continue in just a moment with more of your calls and your WhatsApp messages. This is the most monitored talk show in the world. It's called NewsSpin.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidboutet at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
To protect appliances from lightning, rain, and floodwater damage, unplug them, then turn off the main switch. Lightning can produce electrical surges which can damage equipment. Protect your electronics from water damage as well. Make sure you have flashlights, battery-powered radios, and extra fresh batteries available. Be smart, stay safe.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay. Flow is keeping you connected.
KFC is taking you on a finger-licking journey down memory lane with our delicious throwback special. A mouth-watering leg and thigh combo with regular fries and a 16-ounce soda for only $15. That remind me of the good old days, boy. Available every Thursday. But wait, the thrill doesn't stop there. Tune in on Thursdays to win vouchers and stages tickets. Limited offers available in stores only. KFC, finger-licking good.
The new home of the best country music is Power 97.9 FM.
Say the stars are bound to fade.
Switch us on Join Me, DJ Jerry, this and every Thursday from 8 p.m. till midnight for Country Gold, the best in country music.
Your bags are packed and waiting.
The new, the oldies, and the goldies. So let's make it a date, this and every Thursday with me, DJ Jerry, from 8 p.m. till midnight for Country Gold. If it's Thursday, it's Country Gold Thursday. Country Gold, only on Power 97.9 FM.
I lead a rich, rewarding life.
Automotive art is a place to start. Automotive art is a place to start.
Yeah, look, check. We got a wide range of products that are automotive and do-it-yourself supplies if you got a moment. Smart staff that'll always know it. Got rims and tires from trucks to high performance to off-roading. Start hair tools, batteries, oil, and car care.
After a 3-year hiatus due to restrictions of COVID-19, the Sufra Fitness Center presents Fun Strikes 2023, our annual fan, health and fitness walk for the entire family. On Monday, October 2nd, starting at 5 a.m., we walk from the Sufra waterfront to Myers Bridge through Forsey Jack and back down to the Sufra Beach Park. Of course, the music motivation truck will keep you going and going. A $35 registration gives you a quality Drip Fit t-shirt, drinks, fruits, fresh coconuts, breakfast, and a chance to win big. What are you waiting for? Register, stat, and finish to win over $10,000 worth of cash and raffle prizes. Register at the Sufra Fitness Center and other pop-up locations. Bring the entire family. Fun Strides 2023.
The most monitored talk show in the world. It's called NewsSpin. Let's continue with your calls at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026. We have a call. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
A pleasant good afternoon to you, Tim, and your listeners all over the world. PW on the line, Timothy.
Good afternoon to you, caller.
Timothy, is Miss Tuesday unaware of what's happening online, Timothy? I mean, if somebody is being an imposter, you know.
Caller, we'll investigate, but for now, you should give her a break on that particular issue because she is hold on, caller, because she's saying that is not her account. So we'll verify and then we'll deal with that particular issue subsequently.
Let me move on, Timothy.
Yes, sir.
Timothy, I will not sit by, Timothy, and allow the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party to actually take simply beautiful St. Lucia and turn it into a banana republic, Timothy. The St. Lucia Labour Party, under the leadership of Philip J. Pierre, has actually mastered the art of deception, propaganda, and convoluted statements every single time they come out on an issue, Timothy. Philip J. Pierre, Kenny Anthony, and Richard Frederick are not credible people, Timothy. Anytime these people come out and say something, they have to realize in the eyes of St. Lucians, they're not credible people. You talk about money from the OECC Bank to the Exim Bank, and somebody was paid commission. What I'm saying, Timothy, if Philip J. Pierre has the facts, he should have an independent investigation into who collects commission, not to come on nationwide television or on radio and just blow hot air, Timothy. Philip J. Pierre need to have an independent investigation concerning the monies at the Exim Bank. If he doesn't do that, we all know whatever he says, it's not credible. Timothy, I'm being very short today. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. Let's see if we have any of your WhatsApp messages to go through. Please bear with me while we are waiting some more of your calls at 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026. Okay, let's see if we have a call. Via WhatsApp, good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Tim. Good afternoon, my Prime Minister and political leader.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes,
Tim,
good afternoon, ma'am.
What bothers me, I remember as a child that my mother always said, intelligence is not necessarily book learning, that people are born with intelligence. It's just they came before the books, like the chicken and egg thing. So I can't understand that I have heard repeatedly so many topics that people are bringing up, and they keep saying, oh, there is no explanation, or they keep asking them over and over again, asking for an explanation. And I have watched the United Workers' Party go out over and over again in detail, explaining and taking the time on different forums to explain the questions, the situations that in. And you see, it's just like this one now. Here is the political leader coming out and explaining. I have seen a lot on Facebook with explanations given. Don't tell me that our people, because some people are not book learned or academic, as you all are saying, the majority of our people, but a lot of people are intelligent. Don't tell me that they do not understand the basic principles of what is being explained in this whole fiasco that has been put out there, this alluding to that the ex-United Workers' Party government may have done something inappropriate. Don't tell me that they don't understand, because other people have even heard voice notes go out in Creole so that people can get down to understand. Yet, and this has been done in many. I remember when the late Norbert Williams was alive, he would have a show and he would go on and explain all kinds of things over and over again. And then I would hear our people coming back and still complaining as if they don't understand. What is wrong? Is it that our people, if all the suffering, if all the concerns, is it that they don't understand the impact that these things, when people make, it's like staying in the house and said something that they know that's against the rules of the house, but afterwards and say, well, I said it already, but I take it back. But the fact is that it has gone out there. And people can assume this thing that is going out there, it can hurt St. Lucia. And St. Lucia is already hurting. St. Lucia is already in trouble. St. Lucians are suffering. Yet more and more is being heaped upon this country on the international scene to hurt us. And we are not seeing it. We are so politically biased. We are so in this partisan kind of thing that we cannot see, nobody cannot stand up and say, look, man, this is foolishness. Retract that, take that back out. Don't do that. This is going to hurt our country. We don't need it. I don't even know what to say to you again, Mr. Shasney. I don't know what to say to you again. Because you see, those people are there. Sometimes I don't even want to go on the lives because all they do is they don't talk on the issue. They insult, distracting people from listening to the facts that you're giving. And the next time you'll hear him coming back and say, he has not explained. They're not explaining. UWP is arrogant. I am so fed up, Tim. I am just fed up, wholly and solely fed up. I don't think our people really care about this country. All they like is roro, scandal, bacchanal, insulting people, calling people all kinds of dirty names. And that is all they're interested in, a bacchanal country. They don't care what is happening to them. And then afterwards, they're saying they have no food. Sorry if I sound like I'm ranting, but I'm just really, really upset for my own people. I'm upset because these things that are happening to them is not really affecting me. It's not really affecting Alan Shasney. And the people that it's really affecting, they are the ones they're ranting insults, mépris, and papi show instead of actually listening to what is affecting the country and saying, look, let me put partisan politics aside and stand up and look at the facts and how it can affect our country. I thank you, gentlemen. Have a good afternoon.
All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Tim, I think that the caller really segues very well into what I'm saying, because we started the show, we asked why. Why is this going on? As I said to you, in the House, I think the presentation that I made where I went back and took time to go into the history of St. Jude's, which was a building that was built in 1942, 81 years ago. It became a hospital through a charity, the nurse, in 1966, right? You had a fire. The goal was originally to move back into the hospital, to the old hospital temporarily, and to build a brand new hospital next to the stadium. The decision then was made between Stevenson King, when he saw how much money he was spending to repair the building, even on a temporary basis. And then when he lost the election, confirmed by Kenny Anthony, after 2 years of evaluations, that they would continue to do the work and make the old hospital the new hospital. I think that that was a flaw, but that was their discretion decision to make. And the Shanty King report shows that after 5 years of attempting to do that they failed. They'd spent $130 million and could not complete the project. And the idea that it was going to take chemical and paint, we now know that that's not true. The project was not even close to being completion. In fact, there was a letter from the permanent secretary in March of 2016 that said the project was going to now cost over $180 million, and that the closest it could be completed would have been at the end of 2016. But up until that point, they still did not have a plan. They still don't know what they were going to do. The idea that it was our administration that mismanaged all of the inventory during this period between 2011, Tim, and 2016, equipment was donated, equipment was bought, but the hospital was not ready and it was left in storage. And in some instances, that equipment was used to help out the stadium. Okay? So that's why when, the idea that Guy was going around, what was Guy doing? He was collecting all of the inventory that was all over the place.
I think we have a call.
If I can just finish this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to finish this point. So the fact is that the government is now embarrassed because in my mind, they cannot justify spending $200 million to continue the failed plan, and what makes it worse, with a brand new building right next to it. The next thing that's important, Kenny Anthony going out and making these statements. I think that Kenny was trying to now defend himself because the people of St. Lucia have come to the realization that he's a failed politician and a failed representative, a failed prime minister. Remember, he's the only prime minister that where there was an inquiry and he was found wanting in how he managed funds. That he created what? Fenwell. Fenwell was a diversion away from Rushmel because Rushmel could not borrow any more money. He went down and signed an agreement and allowed the bank to put money into Fenwell in which the government of St. Lucia's taxpayers' money was not protected. That is documented. But more importantly, the more egregious thing that Kenny Anthony has done is he's failed the people in the South. Sir John did a better job. And I'd like to say that what we did in the last 5 years of government for the South is unprecedented. And he must feel embarrassed. New airport, new hospital, new roads, water projects, horse racing track, the idea of bringing a cruise ship terminal and having a vision for the South, the Ojo Labs, the ITEL BPO, the same things that he wants to criticize that created thousands of jobs for young people in the South. And he must be embarrassed. And then on Tuesday, having to sit down and again to confront his maladministration of St. Jude's Hospital. Over $100 million spent in his time, of which we have nothing to show for it. And today, you have to go and spend $200 million? You then have a government now that wants to come and tell you they went and found the money. That is a lie. All the articles are out now to show that the Saudis are lending money, $100 million to Grenada, $80 million to Antigua, monies to St. Kitts, monies to Belize, monies to Guyana, monies to Jamaica, the entire CARICOM region. That doesn't mean that they didn't have a choice as to how they wanted to spend the money. They can spend the money whatever way. But I'm going to say to you, I think it's a shame that this government would now go and try to save face and protect the victory and spend $200 million there. And meanwhile, they're going out and privatizing our port for $40 million of investment. Don't you think it would have made sense? Finish the new building, even if it was $100 million EC. And the same $100 million EC you have left over can go now and do the port development, and you could keep your port. And you can keep all your revenue. That is what is taking place. That's why I said that the United Workers' Party will always fight hard to protect the people's, the incomes of people, the livelihoods of people, and the health of people. Not to go and fight every day hard to protect the victory.
I think we have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, and that is 716-2026. My guest this afternoon is the leader of the opposition and an MP for Miko South, Mr. Alan Chastney. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hello. Good afternoon, Tim, and good afternoon to your guest.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
I just would like to tell Mr. Schaffner at this time, it's about 4 years late, but I am very happy to see that now you are actively taking, to rebut the foolishness that has gone on for the last 5 years in terms of accusations and propaganda and stuff. Because as you could see, it has not done a good thing for your name or your party. So leaving those innuendos and all these kinds of things that went on during the time of the opposition, it came back to bite the party, and I'm certainly happy to see that now you are taking an active role in rebutting the untruths at the bud. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's take a final call. Hello, good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air.
Good afternoon, Timothy. How are you? And good afternoon,
I'm okay,
Mr.
caller.
Chastney.
Good afternoon to you.
Timothy, I wouldn't be surprised if the Prime Minister comes tomorrow and said he don't know where that came from. I never said somebody was making a commission on that deal. I wouldn't be surprised of that at all. Because what he said today, and he made a point of saying that what he said is a fact. Now, if it's a fact, and he should have the facts, he should be able to give the person's name that got the commission, or the organization that got the commission. But then he'll come tomorrow and he'll say he don't remember. But just to stretch this thing a little further, after listening to all the comments, especially from Mr. Chastney, I have an underlying feeling that the Labour Party wants to move to China, the mainland. And they're trying to be so insultive to the Taiwanese, the Taiwanese organization, the Taiwanese country. I cannot believe that a prime minister would do such a thing, and a former prime minister at that, with Dr. Kenny Anthony. I mean, he should have the facts, and the real facts, and he should not be bringing the Taiwanese country that has helped St. Lucia so much into such disrepute. So I really believe that we have a serious problem, and I hope to God that this matter is solved very soon, because I don't know what St. Lucia is getting to. If our leaders are behaving in that way, especially a prime minister that repeatedly, every time he opens his mouth, he puts his foot in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Final comments from you, Mr. Leader of the Opposition.
I'm sorry that we've had to divert our attention, but as one of the callers said, that this has now become a necessary thing. I've always tried to focus myself on the more positive things. I just want to say that this United Workers' Party is going to remain very focused on what's taking place with the cost of living in this country. We think that this 2.5% tax that is being introduced is going to be a catastrophe. We think it's going to lead to a tremendous amount of suffering for households that are already struggling. We think that small businesses are going to have to shut down. We think that people are going to lose their jobs. And we think that this is going to put this country in the wrong direction. There are times when governments make money, and there are times when government has to absorb losses because of shocks that are taking place out globally. And this is one of them. We think that the situation with crime, the government is talking around it, but not dealing with it. I saw a story today about the status of the police force. I feel very sorry for the police officers of this country and what is taking place. And it's a sham. There's no coordination, and it seems that the government wants to do something, but when they were called out, it prevented them from doing what they want to do. They're not putting anything really in place. I heard the Prime Minister speak about border control. He's 100% right. The problems we have today is about border control. It's about preventing the guns and all the stuff from coming in and allowing St. Lucia to be used as a major distribution hub, not for St. Lucians, but to put on to Martinique and to other places in the world. Why did you get rid of the canine dogs? Why have you not put more technology in place? Why have you not created the separate border control? That's where it begins. Not to say that there are not other important issues. They are. But you cannot go and seize guns today if you're not going to stop more guns from coming in tomorrow. The healthcare situation. I mean, if the stories I'm hearing about OKEU and the people who have now left OKEU and the conditions at OKEU and trying to fool the people that universal health care can work. The government of St. Lucia does not have those resources to run the hospital sector in this country. That is obvious. They have not created any new money. The money they want to say off this new tax is rubbish because they didn't even increase the allocation to health. So that's nonsense that's going on in this country. We are not moving forward. Things are getting worse. And when I see now the state of tourism, I have a sad reality for St. Lucians. To resolve the air capacity problem in St. Lucia is going to take over a year and a half. It's not going to happen overnight. And that is the problem. So I just want to say to all of us, the United Workers' Party is going to remain very focused and very vigilant on what is taking place, and it's going to hold this government accountable. And I want to say, I was on your show, Tim, a couple of months ago, and I spoke about the fear in this country. And we're seeing being put into practice every single day in this country that people are made fearful to say anything. There's a young man up in Babonneau who wants to run for the Youth and Sports Council. And as they hear the comments that the minister is making about his right to run in a non-political organization, when I hear a minister of government going on a radio show and threatening you. We heard that before with IPA. Remember when he said, don't go there because you know you have skeletons here? I'm so proud of you, Tim. And I'm asking all St. Lucians, don't let Tim stand alone. Let your voices be heard. What is Tim doing wrong? Asking questions? He's invited the opposition, the Labour Party to come here. They're free to come. I have never come here where Tim has not made it difficult on me or any of the shows. But I'm taking advantage of it. But we as St. Lucians need to stand up for what is right in this country. And standing up for Tim is an important thing. I'm asking all of you to stop believing that you can fight a bully by being quiet. You cannot fight a bully by being quiet. Richard Fedrick, Philip Pierre, Ernest Hilaire, all of them, bullies. That is what's going on in this country. And they're putting the fear of God in anybody to say anything in a democratic country. And the day is coming very soon. I'm going to ask all of you to come out and show this government that they are walking alone. But if we don't do that, sweet St. Lucia will be perished forever, because there becomes a point, like what happened in Haiti, where there's no turning back. St. Lucians, you have a constitution. Understand what is in the Constitution. Understand the concept that it's a contract between you and the government of St. Lucia and all the politicians. And they are obligated to run this country and to protect your rights. And if they're not doing it, you have every right to stand up. And anybody who tries to silence anybody in this country is committing the greatest act against our Constitution. And it should never be tolerated. Ever. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, for being my guest on this afternoon's NewsSpin program. As always, thank you for watching on YouTube as well as our NewsSpin Facebook page. And thank you so much for the discussion in the chat room and your calls. Time now for the NewsSpin News of the Day. The NewsSpin News of the Day. Australian tycoon calls for layoffs to fix workers' attitudes. Australian tycoon calls for layoffs to fix workers' attitudes. Sounds very insensitive. This guy, his name is Tim Gurner. Listen.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
And he eventually apologized. That is Tim Gurner, our NewsSpin News of the Day. Australian tycoon calls for layoffs to fix workers' attitudes.
Hey, Tim, first of all, very good point. The other thing I want to say is I want to remind all our supporters that we're going to be have another town hall meeting this Sunday. It's going to be in the great constituencies of Micoud South and Micoud North. I think it's at the Micoud North Secondary School, Micoud Secondary School. So starting again at 5 o'clock, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody come out and support. We had a great town hall meeting in Soufrière. I want to thank all the constituents from Soufrière, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of our constituents from Micoud North and Micoud South and from the surrounding areas.
All right. Once again, that's a broadcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Timothy Poleon. Goodbye.
Hi, Nurse.